The Tombstone game. It started on a windless October evening, the kind where the trees creak with memories they should have let go of centuries ago. I was 17 back then, and like every bored teenager growing up in a small, superstitious town, we did stupid things to make ourselves feel alive. That night, it was Jamie's idea. It usually was. She had this grin that made you feel like you were either about to become immortal or buried alive. "Let's play the Tombstone game," she whispered, her flashlight dancing across cracked gravestones in the old Bishop Hill Cemetery. I wish I'd said no. There were 5 of us, me, Jamie, her brother Miles, quiet little Brooke, and Kyle, the kind of guy who thought horror movies were funny unless someone lost a real eye. "The game's simple," Jamie said. "You pick a tombstone, say the name out loud 3 times, then lie on the grave and wait. If nothing happens in 3 minutes, you're clean." "And if something does happen?" I asked, though I already knew. The legend was as old as the town. You say the name, you invite the spirit. You lie on the grave, you accept their story. If they have unfinished business, well, then you're not the only one in your body anymore. Miles smirked. "You chicken already?" Of course, I wasn't going to back down. That's the stupid part. We all had that gnawing curiosity, the kind you can't ignore once someone scratches the surface. The cemetery was ancient. Most stones were too faded to read. But Jamie led us straight to one like she'd known it was there all her life. The name carved into the worn granite read, Edwin Mallory, died October 28, 1876. Jamie read it aloud 3 times. Edwin Mallory. Edwin Mallory. Edwin Mallory. Then she laid down on his grave. Hands folded. Eyes shut. She looked like a corpse auditioning for a part. We counted the minutes in silence. 1. 2. 2.5. And then Jamie sat bolt upright, gasping. "Did you hear it?" she whispered, her face pale. "What?" Brooke asked, her voice trembling. "He asked me to find something." "His journal." Jamie stood and brushed dirt off her jeans. "He says it's still in the house. The one with the tower window. On Ash Hollow Road." I stared at her, trying to decide if she was faking. Jamie was a pro at stories. But something about her felt wrong. Off-kilter. We left in silence, the weight of what we'd done pressing against our backs like cold fingers. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that tombstone. Edwin Mallory. The name hung heavy in the air like a storm waiting to hit. And Jamie? She was already changing. The next morning at school, she looked like she hadn't slept in days. Her eyes were sunken, and she mumbled to herself constantly. I caught her scribbling in a notebook during English class, drawings of a tower, over and over again, in exacting detail. Later that day, she handed me a torn page. "You have to come with me," she said. "To where?" "To find the journal." He's getting impatient. That's when I started hearing things. Whispers when no one was around. My name, barely audible. Scratching sounds under my bed at night. A cold breath against my neck that made every hair stand on end. I thought I was going insane, until I found the mark. A perfect circle, just below my collarbone. Burned into my skin like a brand. I wasn't even the one who said his name. But Edwin Mallory had chosen me, too. You ever seen a house so old it looks like it's been holding its breath for over 100 years? That was the Mallory house. We found it a few miles outside of town, off Ash Hollow Road, hidden behind thorned hedges and a rusted gate with no lock, because who would steal from the dead? It didn't even look real. The roof sagged like an old spine, the windows were black and empty, and the once white paint had long since peeled away to reveal dark wood beneath, rotting like flesh. Jamie stood in front of it like it was calling to her. "This is the one," she said. "He lived here. Died here, too." "Jamie," I said, "what's really going on?" She turned slowly, and for a moment, I swear her pupils were slits. "We woke him up. And he won't rest until the journal is back in his hands." Miles and Kyle exchanged uneasy looks. Brooke clutched her jacket tighter. Still, we went inside. The door creaked open with a sound like a scream trapped in wood. Inside, the air was thick with mildew, and something else, something sour, like spoiled meat. Dust floated in the beams of our flashlights like ash after a fire. The wallpaper was rotting. Floorboards creaked under our every step. The stairs looked too fragile to climb, so we started in the parlor. Jamie led us straight to a bookcase. "Help me," she said. I grabbed one end while Miles took the other. It slid away from the wall with more ease than I expected. Behind it was a hollow. And inside? A narrow door. Barely 5 feet tall. Brooke whimpered. "I don't like this." None of us did. We crawled inside single file, through the cramped space that led down a small stairwell, hidden behind the walls like some kind of secret servant's tunnel. It led to the basement. It was colder there, like the house had a heart buried in the ground and it had stopped beating long ago. The light from our phones barely touched the corners of the room. That's where we found the journal. It was resting on a pedestal, yes, an actual pedestal, in the center of the room. Bound in cracked leather, tied shut with twine so old it looked like it would dissolve in our hands. Jamie picked it up. The room changed. The walls groaned. A draft moved through the basement, strong enough to scatter loose pages across the floor. Our flashlights flickered. Then we heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Deliberate. But no one was coming down the stairs. Kyle shouted, "Screw this, we need to go." But Jamie wasn't moving. She just clutched the journal to her chest, her eyes wide, unblinking. "He's here," she whispered. He followed us. Suddenly, the basement door slammed shut. Everything went dark. Then came the voice. Low. Gravelly. Right in our ears. "You took what is mine." I don't know who screamed first. Probably Brooke. But we bolted for the stairs, fumbling in the pitch black for any escape. Something cold brushed past my arm, it felt like the air itself had fingers. When we burst out of the crawlspace and back into the parlor, Jamie was the last one out. She turned back and whispered something I couldn't hear. That's when the house moaned. That's the only way to describe it, like a ship cracking in a storm, every wall straining to hold something in. Or out. We got outside just before the front door slammed shut behind us. The journal was still in Jamie's hands. "What now?" Miles gasped, bent over, hands on his knees. "We burn it?" "No," Jamie said, her voice flat. "He'll just keep coming until it's delivered. To the right place." "And where's that?" She looked at me. Not at the others. Just me. "In the tomb. Under his grave. Where his body isn't." "What do you mean, isn't?" I asked. She held up the journal, which had begun to bleed ink from its seams. "He was never buried." A silence fell over us, deeper than fear. Then Jamie said something I'll never forget, even if I live 100 more years. "The grave is empty." We didn't speak for a long time after Jamie told us the grave was empty. It was Miles who finally broke the silence. "What do you mean he was never buried?" "We saw the tombstone. His name's right there." Jamie opened the journal slowly, reverently, like it would scream if she turned a page too fast. The pages inside were stained, brittle, some smeared with what looked like dried blood. But one entry stood out. She read it aloud, her voice trembling. They'll never find me. I buried the truth where the worms won't eat. The name is the key. Let them say it. Let them wake me. That's not a journal, Brooke whispered. It's a trap. I wish she'd been wrong. The next morning, Jamie was gone. She didn't show up for school. Didn't answer her phone. Her mom called the police, but all they found was her backpack, sitting on Edwin Mallory's grave, open like she had unpacked herself and left her skin behind. The journal was with me. I didn't want it, but she must have slipped it into my bag when I wasn't looking. And the worst part? It wanted to be read. Every time I tried to throw it away, burn it, bury it, it came back. Once in my mailbox. Once in my fridge. Once inside my pillowcase, warm like something had been holding it. That night, the dreams began. I saw Jamie walking barefoot through the cemetery, her lips sewn shut with black thread. I saw Edwin Mallory standing in the shadows behind her, taller than I remembered, with fingers too long and eyes that didn't blink. He said one thing, every night. You started the game. Now finish it. I knew what I had to do. I gathered the others, Miles, Brooke, and Kyle. And told them everything. We dig, I said. We go back to the grave and we find out what's really down there. They didn't argue. We were all marked by then. Miles had bruises on his ribs he couldn't explain. Brooke kept coughing up dirt. Kyle's right eye turned bloodshot and stayed that way, as if something had looked out from inside him. So we went. Midnight. Shovels in hand. The cemetery was colder than before, like it remembered us. The wind didn't blow. The air was heavy. We dug. In silence. No jokes. No second-guessing. After what felt like hours, the shovel hit something that wasn't a coffin. It was a trapdoor. Rusted. Chained. Bolted shut with ancient iron, the kind blacksmiths forged for monsters, not men. Kyle pried it open with a crowbar. The smell was immediate, wet, old, full of rot and secrets. A narrow tunnel led downward into the earth. We climbed. The tunnel wasn't just underground. It was beneath the graveyard, beneath the bodies. Lined with bones. Scribbled symbols. Candles that lit themselves as we passed. And at the very end? Jamie. Sitting cross-legged in front of an altar, her eyes wide, empty, glowing faint blue in the darkness. He's here, she whispered. And he wants you. Then I saw him. Edwin Mallory stepped out from the wall itself, like mist becoming solid. His skin hung loose. His smile was made of cracks. You took my name, he said. Now give me yours. I understood. The game was never about him. It was about us. Every player who spoke his name gave him power. Every body that visited his grave gave him life. And the final piece? A willing soul. Me. Jamie lunged at me, tears running down her face. Don't say it, she screamed. Once you say your own name down here, you give it away. But I was already speaking. Caught in some trance, some compulsion buried deeper than fear. My name is. I choked. I couldn't say it. Something inside me resisted. Some last spark of will. Then Brooke tackled me, knocking the journal from my hands. It hit the ground and burst into flames, white-hot and silent. Edwin screamed, not with sound, but with pressure. The cave trembled. The walls cracked. Run! Miles shouted. We did. Up the tunnel. Out of the grave. Into the night. Behind us, the earth collapsed. The tombstone cracked in half. The game was over. Or so we thought. We never found Jamie again. The cemetery was sealed off, declared a hazard by the town council after a sudden sinkhole appeared overnight. But sometimes, I still hear my name whispered in the dark. Sometimes, I dream of a journal that bleeds. And every year, on the night we played the game, my phone receives a message. New player joined. Say the name. I never do. But I remember it. I always remember it. Edwin Mallory.